Is to say, hey, that's not, that sometimes that happens, but that's not what God is like. I was with a lady on a plane. She was sitting next to me. She said, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm a pastor. She says, well, duh, we're all passengers. I said, no, a pastor of a church. And she goes, and she goes, well, I don't like Christians. And I said, me either. I'm with you, girl. And she wasn't expecting that answer, which is why I said it. I love shocking people. I said, man, I grew up with so many mean ones, I had to start my own church. That's what I said to her. I know. Yeah.
I was at a barbecue not too long ago, and we were just sitting there with a bunch of people that I didn't know, and we were sitting there, and I was talking to a guy. I had no idea who he was. We're talking, hey, man, how you doing? Tell me about what you do. He was telling me about what he did, and he's like, so what do you do? I said, I'm a pastor of a church. And when you don't know anybody and people have I would say normal jobs, this isn't normal. So when they ask you and you're like, say it, you're like, what are they going to say? As you're saying it, you're thinking, what are they going to say? I'm like, I'm a pastor of a church. And I'm not kidding. As soon as I said that, he thought about it for 1 second. He's like, oh. The next thing that came out of his mouth was like, well, I don't like Christians. So, what do you say to that? He's like, literally, I'm like, I'm a pastor. He goes, well, I don't like Christians. And I don't even know what happened. But the next thing that came out of my mouth was, I'm with you, bro. I don't like them either.
And I felt like a 600-pound man sat on my chest. My heart rate went up to 200 beats a minute. And I thought I was within seconds of saying goodbye to this world. And I went to a hospital. And they couldn't, Mark Pettis was with me. He was traveling with me over there. And for about 8 hours, they tried to treat me, and they couldn't get my heart rate to come down. And this host pastor from Australia held my hand for 8 straight hours while I was in this little clinic out in the middle of the outback of Australia. And I was headed to a pastor's conference to speak to a bunch of pastors. And I actually told the paramedic to tell Tammy goodbye. I was telling them what to say. I feel like I have seconds to live. And so anyway, long story short, they couldn't figure out what's going on. It all kind of came down. I went and did the pastor's conference, and then we got home. When we got home, my cardiologist is a member of Church of the Highlands. And I called him. I said, I need to see you. I need you to do whatever you need to do to figure this out. And he said, well, we can do a stress test, but somebody that's in any relative amount of good shape, well, you can pass it and still have heart issues. So I said, well, how can it be conclusive? Because only one way is that I need to go inside with a camera and look at your heart. That's the only way I can give you for sure to tell you if that's what happened inside. So a heart cath. So they go through a vein in your thigh all over the camera and go up and just look at your heart. So when it was all done, now you're in the consultation room after it's all over. And he looked at me, and remember, he's a member of our church, so he could talk to me like this. He said, well, I got good news and bad news. He said, the good news is your heart's perfect. The bad news is you're crazy. Say just crazy.
As I'm sitting there listening, and I have nothing to do there. I'm just there as a friend of my brother. And they're talking, and sitting in that meeting, my heart starts going crazy. It starts beating. It got up to 180 beats a minute, and then it would drop and go down to 40 beats a minute, and then it would be irregular. And I just looked over, Charlie, I said, I'm dying right now. I did. I told him, I said, I'm going to die right now. So when I go, please, you swear you're going to take care of Crystal and the kids. You better don't take care of the church. And I just told him I was at peace. I was like, this is it. A perfect year to go, 2020. And I drove myself over to the ER at Loudon Nova Hospital, and they hooked me all up, of course, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm praying, I'm, last rites, I'm just in my mind regretting all the things that I didn't do right, and all these things, I'm confessing, all of the stuff that you do. Finally, the doctor came back in and said, hey, Josh, you're okay, but I've got good news and I've got bad news. And I said, well, give me I want the good news. He's like, well, the good news is your heart's perfectly fine. He's like, the bad news is you're crazy.
And so we were there, and I was going to fly the same day. We were at the Great Wall, and so I said, all right, group, see you later. Love you guys. Woo. And I took off, and Tammy and I, there's cabs lined up at the Great Wall of China. So we just took our luggage, threw it in the trunk of one of the cabs, and jumped in. And then the missionaries running out there going, Pastor Chris, come see. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I'm the on-time machine.
you don't, like, we got to be on time. I hate rushing. And no, man, you're going to mess up my plan. I can't come see. I got to get to the airport. I got to get to the airport. And he goes, no, you must come see. Man, you don't understand. He says, I insist you get out of cab. Come see. So, all right, I'll come see. And so anyway, I was like, dude, go on. I'll catch another one. And so I walked up and said, man, what is going on? You're going to make me late. He says, that wasn't a legal cab. He said that was a fake, like the fake cab. They have cabs that they look like cabs. He said, but it didn't have emblem. It didn't have the license thing on it. He says, those are the ones that take you out on the countryside and beat you to death, steal all your stuff, and you die in China. I'm like, dude, you're my new best friend, right?
He had one, and I was leaving. We were going to go back to the hostel because me and my buddy, we were wiped. And all my buddies, I don't know where they got it from. They just wanted to keep going. We're like, dude, we're going back. We'll see you guys, later on tonight. So we went down the corner of the street, flagged down a cab, went and got in the car, got in the cab, shut the door. And right when we shut the door, our tour guy was banging on the, and I was like, what's up? And he's like, Josh, you need to come see one more thing. You got to see this. You got to get a picture of it. You'll kill you. You're going to be so mad if you don't. And I was like, oh, no. I don't want to, I can't take one more picture. He's like, no, come on, you got to come see it. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I get out of the van, walk up with him. I'm like, what is up? And he said, that's not a real cab. And I was like, what do you mean? It's got a taxi sign on top. He's like, no, that's not a real taxi. That's the type of taxi you get in. They take you out to the middle of nowhere, beat the dog out of you, take your money and leave you for dead. And I was like, what? Let me go back with some of my buddies. Take care of that. No, I didn't really say that. I was like, for real? He was like, if you would have gotten in there, we'd have never seen you again. That's crazy.